Now, let's start. The number 5 best signing for AEW. I'll let you take it away, pal. I know you're a
Yes,
big fan of him, pal. Go ahead.
yes, pal. This guy is objectively better than Adam Copeland. This guy is Christian Cage. Christian, similar to Samoa Joe, comes to AEW at a similar stage of his career. He's in his 40s. He's hardly like a guy like Swerve Strickland who we'll get to. He's not Tony Storm. He's proven himself in WWE for like 2 decades. He comes to AEW, and the work he does is like, oh, this is really good. Because at first he comes into AEW, I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, it's Christian Cage, great for him. Yeah, he was the big signing, like after they announced Paul White, like a month later. Anyway, so Christian Cage comes in. I'm watching with a bit of bated breath. What's he gonna do? What's he gonna do? And he's clearly his authentic self, turned up to like 10, which is what you want from wrestlers. He's doing the promos. Like, remember he told Adam Copeland to go F himself. That promo that went viral. The feud with Adam Copeland. Yes, people remember, but the feud with Swerve Strickland, the stuff he's doing generally in like the sort of the mid card sort of TNT title thing. He's in the Vulnerable World title.
I just want to say this: the stuff with Nick Wayne, that's like his highlight. Like,
yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like he's been all over the card. Like the mid card style. He's dabbled in the main event. He's entertained no matter what he's done, which is really like the marker that's been a successful signing. He's entertained in pretty much all realms of what he's done in this company. So yeah, shout out Christian Cage. This genuinely, like, he's one of the few, as we'll get to, who's gone to AEW and I guess you say his legacy has been enhanced. Like, now I think of him more fondly than I did 4 years ago, before he went to AEW, which is a testament to Christian Cage. He's done some amazing work. His character work's been great. There was a time, pal, about a year ago, so about June, July, August 2023, where I'm watching AEW going, Christian Cage is genuinely like the only thing worth watching on this show. What he's doing right now, I remember the time, I think during a late take, I was like, Christian Cage should be the superstar of the year for AEW. Like, he's the best thing in AEW. That was when MJF was champion. That was when they're doing all these other different things. Bryan Danielson's having matches with Okada and all this stuff. I'm like, Christian Cage is the best thing in this country. He's the only one I want to actually see cut promos, segments, stories. So Christian's done a great job. He's just missed out on the top 5 here, pal. But yeah, great signing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he said everything that I wanted to say and more. I'll say this. Christian Cage is probably the only guy in AEW history. I could be wrong, but I think he's the only guy in AEW history that had was built up and brought in with all this hype. Remember at Revolution 2021? Oh, we're bringing a Hall of Fame talent into AEW, and it was Christian Cage. And I think he's the only one that was brought in with that fanfare that ended up living up to the hype. And I mean, that says a lot about him, man. And he's great. He's an all-time great, one of the most underrated wrestlers ever, and no doubt worthy to be on this list. The next up,
absolutely. Pal, can I take this one away?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Pal, this is one of the sort of like the day ones.
Yeah.
Of AEW. This is a guy who, since AEW's been a thing, he's been really, you could say, AEW's biggest star, like AEW's biggest constant star. Because yes, there was Chris Jericho in the first year, but then Jericho, just his career got derailed, and it's been a mess for 3-4 years.
We're gonna talk about him.
I look at this guy, John Moxley, who's the best, one of the best signings that we have on this list. He's been so crucial for AEW. He's been the constant. If Tony Khan needs a credible star to put into a main event, to give a world title to, if CM Punk's swearing at him, storming out, he'll give it to John Moxley. John Moxley's that guy. You can plug him into anything, any big spot, any match, any storyline, and he'll have credibility. He'll be interesting. Yes, has John Moxley had some stuff over the journey in the last 5 years that's a bit how you doing with the pizza cutter or stuff involving, some of this hardcore like GCW trash wrestling where it's just like, what are you doing? Like, why are you rolling around in glass? Like, why is this happening? Some stuff, sure, but on the whole, pal, yeah, he's had the big match, the feud Omega, pal. He's feuded with all the big names. Punk. They tried the storyline with Punk, pal, where Punk disagreed with Tony Khan's suggestion, and then he disagreed, and then he stormed whatever. We've discussed Punk, but yeah, Moxley's been the constant. He's been outstanding. Like a genuinely really good signing. Like a guy who, yeah, when you look at Moxley, once again, his legacy's been enhanced by his AEW work. It really has. So, yeah, Moxley's been great, pal.
I think his legacy has been enhanced the most out of any AEW guy, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, let's keep it real with that. You look at the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, like a lot of people will say, oh, their primes was before AEW in New Japan and Ring of Honor. Cody, his legacy is just off the chain in WWE. He's one of the big stars of the company. he's going to be remembered for what he's doing right now in the past 2 years since he started in WWE. Christian Cage, yeah, he had his legacy enhanced, but Christian Cage was already a made guy, a legend. When Jon Moxley showed up in AEW, I mean, bro, he showed up in May 2019. In December 2018, he was getting injections. He was coming out dressed like the guy from Breaking Bad. He was doing all-time bad segments in WWE. It was bad. He was losing to Matt Hardy clean on Raw right before he left. It was bad with Jon Moxley. It was okay, when the Shield started, okay, this guy's going to be a big star. It didn't work out. He ended up just being a mid-card guy for his whole career in WWE. Goes to AEW. He's like the Kurt Angle. But what Kurt Angle was to TNA is what Moxley has been to AEW. He's the best signing. You could argue he's the best signing that they've ever had. You could argue it. I remember when he showed up at Double or Nothing, the original Double or Nothing. It was an incredible moment. Dude, with Omega, all that stuff they did was great, and it's just been full speed forward, full speed ahead, no looking back. Moxley's been great. All right, next up, pal. Do you want to take this one too? This is your favorite wrestler.
I do, pal. We've got Toni Storm in this position now. Yeah, I mean,
number 3.
I look at the top 4. Yeah, so she's number 3 now. I look at the top 4 we've got. You can really interchange most of them. It's not super this guy has clear 1, this guy has a clear 2, Tony's a clear. It's interchangeable. But when I look at Toni Storm, similar to what you said with Jon Moxley, with the stuff he was doing when he was out the door in WWE, where it was just so bad. And yeah, Jon Moxley was losing to Nia Jax. That was the proposal, and that nearly happened. And he's losing to EC3 and all that crap. When it comes to Toni Storm, can you not forget the cream pie segment on SmackDown with Charlotte Flair? Some of the all-time bad modern day content. She's getting cream pie in her face, and the camera's zooming in, and she's screaming. She's oh no, ah! And you're thinking to yourself, she had all this fanfare from NXT. There's none of these NXT talents. It was great in NXT, black and gold. She goes to the main roster, and it's the Charlotte Flair cream pie segment. That was one of the worst segments. Toni Storm, what a signing. What an intense, powerful signing for All Elite Wrestling. Definitely worth the money. I know she's not being paid $7 million a year, you feel like some of these other people are getting. So yeah, great signing, Toni Storm.
Yeah, whatever she is getting paid, she's worth every penny. If she had maybe 20% more of the star power that Sasha Banks had in WWE, just give her 20-30% more of that. The name, the machine behind her, Toni Storm would be an even bigger deal for AEW. That's the only thing she doesn't have, is that casual fans don't know her the way they know Sasha Banks. She's great though. In the timeless Toni Storm role, her gimmick, her character is authentic. It's unique. It's one of the highlights of AEW. She has been one of the highlights. Whenever she is getting TV time, she was champion for a while. I don't know if she's still champion, but she was a women's champion for a while. And she's one of the few things that was that would pull me in. I'd be interested. I would want to see what she's doing next. And you can't say that about a lot of talents in AEW, especially on the female side, pal. So, yeah. All right. Any more on Toni Storm?
No, let's swiftly move on from that one. That one got messy. That got dirty, pal. Next we'll move on. I think these two are interchangeable. We're gonna do this one first, but yeah, we got Swerve Strickland. I mean, Swerve was a guy who came across in WWE, and when he's in WWE, you're this guy can be better than what he is to the full capacity. Swerve Strickland could be used better here. So yeah, when Swerve Strickland came to AEW, he had that big thing of he can be better, and he was. Swerve Strickland broke out as a star in All Elite Wrestling. He went from just a guy, a lower mid card, good wrestler who there's a million of, and then he broke out as a Swerve. He's in main storylines, main segments. His whole act, it just clicked with Swerve Strickland. He's been a breakout star, AEW World Champion. He's done so much in the time he's been in AEW, and yeah, as is the case with most of these, the ones in the best signings, he wouldn't be on $6 million a year. He wouldn't be on Shane McMahon money, pal. If Shane McMahon comes in, he's on a good contract, making bank, really, making his legacy. So that when he goes to WWE in a year or two, he can get huge dollars and main event WrestleManias and actually be relevant to the mainstream. Swerve Strickland's crushing it. He is fantastic. Go Swerve.
Yeah, as you said, interchangeable with the guy we're going to talk about next. Swerve Strickland. really under the radar too. Like it wasn't a splash. It wasn't game changer. What was his name in WWE? So was it just Swerve?
It was Swerve. It was Swerve, I think, and then they call him Swerve Strickland in AEW.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, this guy's coming in from WWE. He's gonna change the landscape of professional wrestling. Oh, Vince McMahon's cooked. This is curtains, pal. Give Tony Khan his flowers. No, it was like, oh, this guy, he got released like for budget cuts, for when Vince was writing checks, pal, to cover up all the scandals. And he's like, all right, I got to cut some salaries. Swerve Strickland, one of the 20 names that were cut. And then he shows up in AEW, no fanfare really. He's just like, okay, he's going to be a project. He's a guy with some talent, rising star. Then 2023, he broke out. He became really what AEW has been missing throughout their existence. They've needed to hit that culture, that part of the culture, that part of the audience. And Swerve Strickland does that, and he's been great, man. Honestly, like he's a shoo-in for a top 10 finish, top 5 finish for Wrestler of the Year when we're talking about that in 2024 at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's world champion right now, and bro, I mean, he's carrying the company. While MJF stock has fallen, Swerve continues to rise, and I think Swerve is the future, the current best guy. I think he surpassed MJF as the face of the company.
Yeah. Well, when you look at 2024 so far, I mean, there's McIntyre, there's Cody, there's Swerve, in my eyes, who are like your big stars who've done a lot so far this year that really achieved.
I think Liv's up there too. I think you got to put Liv Morgan in that conversation too.
And Liv Morgan from the female side of things, 100%. So yeah, Swerve, what a talent! Look forward to seeing what he keeps doing. And then pal, the number one, the signing of AEW. Now, I'll introduce this because I made a video in July of 2021 saying, "Dear Daniel Bryan, please retire." Now, we sit here 3 years later doing this list with Bryan Danielson as the greatest AEW signing of all time, and that doesn't look like it's aged very well. Now, when I made that video, my thinking is, okay, Bryan Danielson has had multiple neck surgeries. He's had multiple instances where he loses feeling in his arms. He gets pins and needles down his back, down his arms, just because he's been wrestling. He's done enough in WWE. He's a top 50 guy all time in WWE and just wrestling generally from his indie work, his WWE run. He can just call it the day, like for his own health, whatever. Bryan's had no real health issues in AEW, which is a massive tick right away. And the work he's done, pal, has been fantastic. He's been what we've said Moxley's been, where super reliable, super dependable. But with Bryan Danielson, because he has awards named after him, pal, from a wrestling point of view, you've been able to put him against all these guys who it's like a dream matches sort of thing. Guys who, these New Japan legends. Okada's the big one. They did the match at Forbidden Door and they did a follow-up match. Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega was a big one. And there's so many different matches where Bryan Danielson, even younger guys like Daniel Garcia and these wrestlers who can get so much out of wrestling are Bryan Danielson, one of the greatest in-ring guys of all time, if not the greatest of all time in the ring. Bryan has been just so good. I'm surprised he hasn't been AEW World Champion. He could have easily been AEW World Champion, to be honest. He hasn't, though. So shout out to Bryan Danielson. Many wrestlers would have played political chess and said, I'm your MVP here. I need to be champion or I'm walking out. Many wrestlers would have said that, pal. You make wrestling on cover videos. You know that better than I do. But yeah, when I look at Bryan Danielson, 3 years, what a run. He's proven my take to be one of the worst takes in the modern era for wrestling. I remember I made that video about Bryan Danielson. I went back to sleep, woke up 2 hours later, and the backlash was nuclear. My Twitter was being spammed. I was being reshared by sides of wrestling Twitter who aren't exactly very friendly, calling me every horrible thing under the sun, threats, all this stuff. This video, pal, and I didn't age well. So yeah, there you go, pal.
And I just want to add to his accolades with AEW. He fired CM Punk. Add that. He's the guy responsible for CM Punk's firing.
Yeah.
The head of the discipline committee, pal. He's probably booking the shows. Like he's like Tony Khan's right-hand man, basically, on creative too. Yeah, he absolutely could have gone in and said, hey, look, Tony Khan, this doesn't work for me, brother. I'm beating MJF for the championship. Revolution. I'm going over. He didn't do that. Bryan Danielson, the human being, is there. I don't know him, but it seems like he's there to to add to the company, to contribute positively. Whatever company he's with, whether it's WWE, AEW, any wrestling company, wherever he's wrestling, he's trying to make it better. And you can see that a lot of people have respect for him. You don't hear any of the things that you hear about a guy like CM Punk, guys like Andrade, guys we talked about already that have attitude problems that are difficult to work with. Oh, we don't want to listen to this guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. We don't hear any of those things. Bryan Danielson. Everybody has good things to say about him. You don't see any like real life controversy bleeding into promos. The promos, the segments with Bryan Danielson. It's like, I love you. You're an inspiration. Can't wait to work with you. Things like that. You hear things like that, and it's all been positive. And he's done good business for them. He's main evented a ton of shows. He's going up against Swerve Strickland at All In, I believe, or All Out. One of the two. They're going to be headlining, wrestling each other for the AEW Championship. He's seemingly on his farewell tour with AEW. He's going to retire soon. He's going to hang up the boots, doing like Cena, pal. He's one of the top 30 guys of all time. He made both of our top 30s. He's, you could argue, he's a Mount Rushmore guy of the PG era in wrestling in general, in WWE. And then he goes to AEW. It looked like he was finished, right, in WWE. Kind of not really much there for him to do anymore. Goes to AEW, reinvents himself completely, and is so important to that fan base. And he absolutely deserves to be at the top of this list.
No, I couldn't agree more. So that's our worst than best signings in AEW. If you feel I've forgotten one, let us know, pal. Do you think we've forgotten anyone, pal, that I can think of? We covered all the big ones.
You talk about the obvious ones like the Elite, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, Cody, Hangman, for best signings. But yeah, I think we covered just about all of them.
Yeah, well, really, we're talking about mostly, as you see with ours, they're like the XWE signings, or what we talk about with these, because they're the ones that I guess get the most traction from a mainstream sense. They get the most discussion. There's not too much, dialogue when they bring in, like when they bring in Will Ospreay. And sort of like, okay, well, he's just, because of the Forbidden Door partnership, it's just another guy who's just in that realm of guys who under AEW, under ROH, under New Japan, who Tony Khan doubles with anyway. So it doesn't really seem the same as when they bring in like a Swerve and it's like, oh my God, he's from WWE. They're very different. That's why there's mostly just all the XWE signings. So yeah, pal.
Exactly. And I'll say this: Ospreay could be on this list in the next 2-3 years. Ospreay could easily crack a top 5. He could easily take down one of these guys and be a best signing. This hasn't happened yet. He's there. He's getting started. He's getting introduced to this North American audience. So
there you have it, pal. Now let's shift gears, pal. I just want to discuss one topic before we move into around the world.